They say street food is delicious, but do you really know what goes inside? This story will change the way you see Akara forever.
Mix your sweat into the batter, the sweat from your armpit, your forehead, and wash your private part, then mix the water into the bean cake. With that, your customers, both old and new, will flock back to you, craving your Akara. The city hums with life. Car horns blare, street vendors call out, and the smell of frying food fills the air. Lagos wakes up with hunger. Not just hunger for food, but hunger for more. More money, more power, more success. The camera sweeps through the streets. Children in school uniforms rush past smoky suya stands. Men in suits sip roadside coffee, and a beggar rattles a tin cup. The camera slows at a small Akara stall, where a woman, Mama Nkechi, wipes her forehead and drops another batch of bean cakes into sizzling oil. Hunger never sleeps in this city. She glances at the restaurant across the street. Taste the magic, where well-dressed customers sip fresh juice. A waiter laughs with a customer, placing down a steaming plate of jollof rice. Success in Lagos belongs to the bold, but some hungers should never be fed. 1 year ago, the same street, but Mama Nkechi's stall is buzzing. Customers laugh, chat, and wipe their oily hands on napkins. Mama Nkechi, your Akara is the best in Lagos. One customer said. Another customer responded, no one makes it like you. The crisp, the spice. Eh? Even my wife cannot match this. Mama Nkechi beams as she serves another plate. Her teenage son, Emeka, stacks Naira notes into a wooden cash box. You see, my son? Tapping him on the back. Hard work feeds the soul. But then, a new sign is hammered across the street. Taste the magic. A grand opening, free food, music. And just like that, her customers start crossing the road. A month later, Mama Nkechi's stall is empty. The once bustling Akara stall is now lifeless. The frying oil sits still. The air is empty. No laughter, no voices praising her food. She watches across the street as Taste the Magic flourishes, customers pouring in, the rich and powerful dining without a care. The street seems louder than usual, the sounds of success mocking her silence. Her hands tremble as she wipes them on her faded wrapper. Her breath quickens. She grips the edge of the stall, her nails digging into the wood. The past month flashes through her mind in fragments. The first day her customers didn't show up, she thought it was the rain. The second day, she saw them crossing the street, lured by the music, the free food, the bright sign of the new restaurant. The third day, she counted her earnings, a few crumpled Naira notes and a single coin. The fourth day, Emeka hesitated before coming to the stall, shame in his eyes. The fifth day, hunger sat beside her like an uninvited guest, whispering doubts in her ear. She clenches her fists. Her mouth is dry. Her heartbeat pounds in her ears. She watches as Madame Chioma, the new restaurant owner, makes deals with a contractor. The man laughs heartily as he eats a steaming plate of egusi soup. Mama Nkechi's voice rises, desperate, almost breathless, whispered, "How did I lose everything? How did my hands go from feeding people to trembling like a beggar's? How did my name, once spoken with smiles, turn into a forgotten whisper? How did my food, my pride, become invisible overnight? How? A paper crinkles behind her. She turns sharply. Emeka stands there, holding something in his hands. Emeka, quietly, almost a whisper. Mama, I lost my scholarship. Her world stops. The sounds of the street fade. The edges of her vision blur. Her breathing slows, but her heart races. Mama Nkechi, barely audible. What did you say? Emeka swallows hard, eyes downcast. He hesitates, then speaks, his voice shaking. They said I don't belong. They said I smell like palm oil and poverty. A sharp, unbearable silence. The words slice through her like a hot knife, leaving wounds too deep to see. She looks past Emeka, past the empty space where her customers once stood, past the glowing restaurant across the street. Madame Chioma is inside, shaking hands with a politician, laughing, thriving. The sound of cutlery clinking, glasses toasting, satisfied murmurs. These should have been hers. Something inside her snaps. A voice, deep and whispery, slithers into her mind. Do you want it back? Her eyes flicker. Her fingers tighten around the stall's edge. Her breath comes slow, steady. Number I will not let her win. That night, the city is quieter. Mama Nkechi walks alone past dark alleys. The air is thick with whispers and smoke. She stops outside a small hut. A dim lantern flickers inside. She steps forward, hesitant, then knocks. An old woman, the oracle, sits inside, stirring a black pot. Her eyes are milky, as if she sees beyond this world. Hunger has brought you here. The oracle said. Mama Nkechi replied, I want my customers back. The oracle reaches for a clay jar and presses it into Mama Nkechi's hands. Mix your sweat into the batter, the sweat from your armpit, your forehead, and wash your private part, then mix the water into the bean cake. With that, your customers, both old and new, will flock back to you, craving your Akara. But be warned, the curse takes what you love most. Mama Nkechi hesitates, but then she thinks of Emeka's crumpled scholarship letter, of Madame Chioma's glowing restaurant, of the hunger clawing at her son's future. She grips the jar. The next morning, the frying begins. The Akara turns golden, crisp, irresistible. Customers return, drawn by the scent. They eat, they moan in pleasure, and then their eyes change. More. I can't stop eating. A woman eats 6 plates, then starts biting her own fingers. A man licks oil off the table, laughing. A child's stomach swells, but he keeps eating. Across the street, Madame Chioma watches, eyes narrowing. That night, Chioma sits alone in her empty restaurant. Her hands shake as she holds a picture of her daughter. Mama, your kind of business is dirty. Chioma clenches her jaw. She will not lose, not to a roadside Akara seller. A shadow moves in the room, mysterious figure. You want power? Chioma turns. A man with a scarred face steps forward, holding a red bottle. Chioma's lips curl into a wicked grin. Tell me the price. Your daughter's voice. Or your soul. A long pause, then slowly, Chioma takes the bottle and drinks. Her eyes turn black, her smile sharpens. She throws her head back and laughs, so loudly the mirror cracks. In the morning, customers flood Chioma's restaurant. But her food, it has changed. The egusi soup smells rotten, full with margot. Yet they eat, unknowing to them because it has been prepared with magic. Their skin turns gray, their fingers twitch, their stomachs bloat. Emeka sneaks into her kitchen and sees the truth. The ingredients are wrong. The meat pulses. The stew moves on its own. This isn't food. Chioma steps forward, grinning. And your mama's sweat from her forehead, her armpit, washing her private part into what she sells. Did it taste like a blessing? Emeka gasps and collapses. That night, Mama Nkechi runs through the dark city, clutching her son's lifeless body. She reaches the spot where the oracle's hut once stood, but there is nothing, just an empty space and the eerie drawing of a spider devouring its own young. The wind swirls violently and a deep chuckle rumbles in the darkness. Then, silence. Mama Nkechi blinks. Emeka's body twitches, his fingers curl, his eyes flutter open, but they are no longer the warm brown eyes of her son. They are black, empty. Emeka rises slowly. His lips part, but no breath comes out. Mama Nkechi gasps, realizing the horrible truth. Her son is alive, but he is no longer hers. From that night, Mama Nkechi is never seen again. Some say she wandered into the lagoon, carrying the boy who no longer spoke. Others whisper that she became part of the wind, and her wails of regret heard at night near the burnt ruins of her stall. And others say she ran mad. As Chioma's restaurant burns, she watches, her face twisted in shock and fury. The scarred man steps beside her, smiling. Power always comes at a cost. Then let me pay in full. She reaches into the fire, grabbing a burning ember with bare hands. Her flesh sizzles, but she does not flinch. Instead, she laughs, a sound sharp enough to crack the night. Days later, whispers spread through Lagos. Madame Chioma did not die in the fire. She changed. The streets say she now lives in the shadows, offering secret recipes to desperate food sellers. Those who take her deals wake up with full restaurants, endless customers, and pockets overflowing with money. But those who fail to obey her rules disappear. Before the fire, Chioma's daughter, Zainab, had already distanced herself from her mother's business. When the restaurant burned, Zainab fled the city. Years later, she returns, older, wiser. She opens a small food stall named Taste the Legacy. Unlike her mother, she does not chase power. She cooks with love. But sometimes late at night, she dreams of a figure standing at the edge of her stall, watching. A woman with fire-lit eyes. Emeka is never the same after that night. He does not speak. He does not eat. Some say he roams the outskirts, his dark eyes reflecting the hunger of those who once devoured his mother's cursed Akara. And when the wind howls through Lagos at night, mothers whisper, "Never eat from the hands of the desperate." Moral lesson. This tale teaches a powerful lesson. Greed and desperation can lead to destruction. Both Mama Nkechi and Chioma sought power and success through dark means, but the price was far greater than they imagined. True success is built on honesty, patience, and hard work. When we take shortcuts, we may gain temporary riches, but we risk losing everything that truly matters: our loved ones, our peace, and even our souls. It also reminds us that hunger is not just for food, but for power, wealth, and recognition. However, not all hunger should be fed. Some desires come with a cost too high to bear. Let this be a warning. Never eat from the hands of the desperate, and never trade your soul for fleeting success. Enjoyed this story? Don't forget to check like this video to support us. Comment your thoughts. What did you learn? Share this story with friends and family. Subscribe to Matrix African Folktales for more spine-chilling, thought-provoking stories. Your support helps us bring more amazing content your way. Stay tuned for the next story.